Over the past year, I've been testing the best laptop coolers on the market, but there's been a certain style of laptop coolers that I haven't been able to test quite yet, and they've been highly requested. This is a vacuum laptop cooler, specifically the KLIM Cool Plus vacuum laptop cooler, which is instead of using the traditional method like most other laptop cooling pads that kind of focus on a brute force approach of pushing as much air out under the bottom of your laptop to go ahead and allow your fans to get fresh air. But instead, this laptop cooler actually works in the opposite effect, where it's designed to suck all the air out of the ventilation coming out of the side of your laptop, basically pulling all that hot air away from your components. So it's kind of different, but it actually works quite well, as you'll see in just a minute. So let's go ahead and run over the design of this laptop cooler, and then we'll go ahead and run over some benchmarks to see how well it stacks up compared to the rest of the competition of other coolers I've tested, and then we can go ahead and give you a final conclusion. Starting off with how this laptop cooler even works. This cooler is a side-mounted cooler specifically designed for laptops that have a side-mounted exhaust, such as the one here that we're using for testing. If you have any other type of exhaust for your laptop, I would recommend looking elsewhere because this cooler will not work properly. So take a look at something like the IETS GT500 V2, which we recently named the best laptop cooler that money can buy. For side ventilation laptops though, this cooler works by first mounting using the attached bottom plate, which allows you to go ahead and also use adhesive if you do want a permanent solution so this cooler doesn't move around if you are moving the laptop at all. So it kind of gives you a permanent solution if you do want to use that. From there, you want to go ahead and select your rubber gasket, which will allow you to go ahead and cover the actual ventilation hole, making sure that only the air is being sucked out of that vent rather than anywhere else to go ahead and make sure this works properly. One thing to mention about this is luckily this cooler does come with 4 different sizes depending on what you need. Once you have the cooler assembled how you like it, you can then use it to go ahead and cover the vent and then plug in the included USB braided cable to go ahead and power it up. The design of the cooler also features 2 buttons for interacting with the design, one for go ahead and turning it on and off, and the other for changing the RGB element of the logo. Lastly, to control the RPM of the fan, you do have a nice knob to go ahead and adjust the actual speed of the fan, which will actually show up on a little display on the cooler itself. With everything mounted, let's go ahead and talk how this cooler actually operates. This cooler, as mentioned before, works through suction, and this is possible because of the single high-powered 3500 RPM fan that sits in the middle of the cooler that sucks all the hot air out of your system and exhausts it out the back. When it comes to the design and build quality, I gotta say that this cooler is built very, very well, especially at the price point where this actually sits at. And it's actually quite unique when it comes to the style because of the size, as this cooler pretty much can be taken in any bag, which makes it really nice and is a huge plus on my part because it allows you to always have nice cooling no matter where you go. So if you're at home, maybe at work, or somewhere else, you're always gonna have the cooling that you would expect, which you just can't say about all the other laptop cooling pads that we've previously tested. With all that said, anything can be designed well and sound good in theory, but if it doesn't back it up with testing, well, it's worthless. So in order to test this out, we're going to be using my Asus GL522, which is an older gaming laptop that's always struggled to stay cool. And it's a perfect example for this cooler because this is a laptop that has a side exhaust. Starting off with our system benchmarks, our stock temperature tests found that where after letting the system sit for about 5 minutes at idle, the CPU registered at a nice cold 35 degrees Celsius, which placed it only second to the IETS GT500 V2. This was a 13-degree drop in temperature from the stock configuration. And when we turned on our CPU torture test using AIDA64, this CPU cooler was able to outperform pretty much every other cooler on the market, registering at only 75 degrees Celsius, which only fell short of the IETS GT500 once again. And honestly, this was quite impressive due to the small form factor of this cooler. These results were great, but this all did come at the expense of noise, as after measuring the operational level of this cooler, it came in at 53.4 decibels, which was the second highest next to the IETS GT500 V2. And this can get quite annoying after leaving it running at full speed for a while if you don't have headphones on, specifically because of the small fan. So that's just something to keep in mind, but here's a quick listen so you can hear what I mean. With everything said, I gotta say I was quite impressed with this laptop cooler, as it kept up with some of the best coolers that we've ever tested while coming in at a super small form factor. And something I've yet to mention is the fact that the price of this system is only $26.97, which is honestly a great deal, which compared to a lot of the other coolers is very, very impressive. So in my view, if you have a side-mounted exhaust vent on your laptop, this may be the best cooler that you can buy, especially if you want something portable. But if you don't need something portable or you don't have a side-mounted vent, my recommendation is still to go ahead and look at the IETS GT500 V2, as that's still the best laptop cooler for cooling capacity that you can buy on the market. Outside of that, you can also take a look at the KLIM, which is my budget offering, which would probably be around $12 to $13, depending on the deal over on Amazon. And that's always a great laptop cooler, as it performed quite well. Not as good as the IETS or the KLIM, but it's also a great offering. So you guys can go ahead and take a look at that, as well as all the other products that we've mentioned in this video and tested with in the video description down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and if there's any other coolers that you think we should test out, go ahead and let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.